are watching Eswatini TV, Sibuko Semaswati.
There you have it, 17th of August, the year is 2020. This is actually marking a month later since about 10 sporting codes were given a green light to proceed with their sporting codes here in the Kingdom of Eswatini with the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. Hello and welcome. This is your favorite program on Monday, live on Eswatini TV. And of course, if you're joining us, welcome for this special edition where we look at some of the activities that took place over the weekend and where we got a chance to talk to some of the some of the athletes in different sporting codes, where we will also look at some of the activities that took place over the weekend, including darts having of course started looking at ways that they can return to actions. They had a special meeting. We'll also get to hear the outcome of the meeting. Pool, we're back to activities, but they had to suspend the activities. We get a chance. We will have a chance, of course, to speak to Muntu Dlamini, the president of Pool Association in the country. Now, having checked on different causes like Yombabane Golf Course, Yongonyini Golf Course, this is a chance, of course, also to give a center stage to Eswatini Spa Golf Course to hear what was happening over the weekend. Of course, some of the your big names were on the course, hitting the 18 hole, the likes of Jamie Pennington. Of course, we'll get to hear what they have to say about the return of the activities. Otherwise, internationally, Formula One number one Mercedes star Lewis Hamilton continues to make headlines. Otherwise, shocking moments keep to happen in the UEFA Champions League and the Europa competitions. This time around, one game you are out, one game you are to the next stage. Bringing you those entire updates, be it local and internationally, I'm going to be in the company of Linda Dlamini, who's already in the studio. He's a well-vested in-house analyst. Nguvusele Dlamini.
Ngiyavusela Fabrice, ngibonga kumukela la studio ngitithoba lokukhulu ngivusele ma-loyal viewers emakhaya.
Wow, there you have it. I think whenever I was actually catching up with one of the loyal viewers to say whenever Master is in the studio, there's that belief that we get to hear what we want in terms of information. Now, we kick off things locally. I mean, Nangbuga, what is happening locally? Sporting codes were given a permission to proceed with the activities. Darts, they had a special meeting over the weekend. This is some of the things that they were looking at, how they can proceed with the activities, how are they going to play under the current situation. Some of the things to raise during their meeting also was the issue of playing time. I think at some point I heard that now compared to the usual time it was used. Maybe just to give us an overview,
Fabrice uteka yona indzaba ya madarts siyakhumbula ukuthi madarts ngilenye ma sports la nikwa imvumo ukuthi awabuya todlala bebabamba umhlangano wabo ke bese esigadzile Fabrice solo sibukile ukuthi kutakwendekala darts bawubambile kumhlangano wabo dinenge letimvu bakhulume ngato lengicabanga ukuthi satoyiva nale interview dinenge letimvu bakhulume ngato wabeka na president wabo before babuye ukuthi kunetinvu vele letawushintsha letinenge kakhulu ba discuss ke Fabrice bavumelana ngavelinye ukuthi kwentiwa ini way forward but nje stawuva.
That's, one would say, it's one of the sporting codes locally that have that chance to take sporting activities to the higher stages. And of course, maybe before we get further, we get to hear some of the representatives from the Darts Association, what they had to say about the meeting. What was the meeting about? What did they want to plan? And what were they planning to take a look at as we head into COVID activities? We're preparing for that interview for you. Maybe before we get to the interview, Dlamini, one would want to understand that it's a sport. We know some of the well-known places. You talk about your correctional facility. You talk about Zakele in Manzini. Those are some of the well-known places where the sport is played. And then I think for the fans, it's been quite some time without seeing the sport. They will be happy to know.
Yebo Fabrice siyakho uyadibala letindzawo la kudlalwa khona lo mdlalo yo mathapha lapha eprison ezakhele ticishe dinengana la kudlalwa khona Fabrice but ngicabanga lokho umcoka kakhulu lama precautions kulandzelwa lemigomo lebekilwe nguhulumende ukuthi nababuyela bayodlala batakwenda in end vele babuyela nibawudlala njengoba sengishilo ukuthi bakhuluma ngavilinye bavumelana ukuthi kutawendewa in.
I'm just taking a look at the pictures that we are watching live now on your screen, Master. I think the issue of social distancing was observed so much in this meeting. You can see the higher table where the likes of Zakir Lamin, of course, are involved on the table. But now Buganje, from the picture, I haven't heard what they're saying on the screen, but I can see there's a lot of disagreement. You know, when a meeting, you can see the seriousness of the session. Not to say they disagree so that maybe Gule and no anything, but they are contributing for the betterness of the sport. This is what we want.
Fabrice, once ema meetings kwahamba ngavilinye kusukela ekuqaleni kusuke kunenkinga ngiyabona kusuke dinengile tinvole ngithi kuyinkinga ngato ngenteka kube mhlambe lo hola lo mhlangano bangani bakhe la khuluma nabo sobakhulume prior kule meeting ngenteka kube bamsaba ngenteka kube dinengile tinvo kodwa once emhlanganeni kwangavunyelwana kugcina kwakhiwe invole strong lengicabanga ukuthi even nebamadatha bekukunengi lokungavumelani base ekugcineni konke noma ngabe amaningi lama differences lenayini wakhulume ema teams bekakhona lapha ba representile ekugcineni kwakonke base baphuma nevilinye.
And of course not to preempt what was happening during the meeting, of course what we just did, me and Jamine, to say from the look of things, the pictures, they looked very concerned, and they looked very determined to make changes. Now before we go any further, let's take a look at what they had to say during the meeting and listen to one of the issues that were raised during the meeting. Take a look at this.
Sidlala nema games ethu, so lebe sikwendile ke la besihlangene nema teams, ema representatives ema teams ethu emadarts, lapho khona sithi sitokhuluma ukuthi ingabe nasicala sichubeka nemidlalo yethu sitawuchubeka kanjani, sibukeke khona sibukene COVID-19 ke ukuthi ingabe ukuthi sivikele ukuthi aze emalunga ethu ayithole bese siba setinkingeni sekuthi sebashiya labanye, ingabe singamisa njani, sibukeke ukuthi siba involve nabo babe khona lokuthi bayifake yakabi imibono ukuthi sitawuchuba ngalunga ukuthi sichube kanje imidlalo yethu kuze singakhona ukuthi sithole leligciwane lelikhona manje. Indlela sitawuchubeka ngayo ke sibukile ukuthi with the provision of konke lokubekwe phansi lokuma sanitizers nekuwasha tandla, sitawuchubeka sibuke ukuchubeka evikini lelilandzelako ngemgcibelo lapho khona sitaba khona correctional gymnasium lapho sitabe sidlalela khona ema games ethu. Sibuke ukuthi ekseni kutaba khona labadlalako bathi buse kungashaya kumbe 1 noma 1:30 bese bayaphuma sekutala amanye ama teams futhi nawo ku second session ayadlala kutawuze kuyoshaya 6 nga6 sicedzile ayahamba ama teams sesicedzile edlala ema games ethu.
Now, this is a very concerned association, Darts Association, revealing some of the things that they had to put in place. Now, from next week Saturday, Master, and then one of the things that are also coming into place is to say the sooner the better. I think that the sport has been quiet for some time since they were given a permission to proceed.
Fabrice siyeva ukuthi kule weekend liya kuyo lempela sonvolukiwa kuyo batawucala ima games abo imidlalo yabo bayabeka ke dinengile tinvo Fabrice lecanga ukuthi bamvu bathi understand lokuthi titawushintsha yes sesijwayele lokho sanitizers akujwayela kuma mask lecanga ukuthi vele kuhlale kwendiwa letinvo leto bawudlala kumathaphe garism ngicaba ukuthi uyasho ukuthi first group itawudlala ekseni then lelenye ilelandzela itawudlala after lunch lecanga ukuthi ema players abe careful kakhulu because nangabe kuthiwe lelenye igroup ayingene ekseni idlale ungammeli umngani wakho lo utawudlala nzambama uthi asengemmele sike sizame ku catch up. Ngicaba ukuthi nangabe bathi igroup yasekseni ayidlale uhambe ekhaya na uDPPs nalele tawulandzela kanjalo abangafika ekseni abathi bafuna ukubukela labanye badlali ukuthi badlala kanjani. Ngicaba nje ukuthi le tinvo lethu kudzinga ukuthi batijwayele badlale wonke lodlala ema sports, not only that.
Just if you just join us or live on Eswatini TV, we're touching on the issue pertaining to that, who was speaking live on air, it was Subsiso Pachas, the Secretary General of the association, who was just giving us the details about how they'll be beginning their sport. Now, just moving on before we move on to the next topic, I mean, maybe the issue of the equipment, because I think if you're an athlete coming to the sport, as we know, darts, there is a specific thing they use, those instruments to use. How do you ensure that now there's no exchange of those instruments? Does every athlete has to come in with his own equipment?
Ngelihlehle lenhle Fabrice imadatsi vele akusherishwa lokwe madatsi lokwetical labakujikako lengicaba ukuthi vele lokho nje only that kudzinga ukuthi kusanitizwe now and then bakuvetile ke naloko emhlangano ku AGM lengicaba ukuthi ngiyo lama precautions lebe sikhuluma ngawo. In fact vele idatsi nakubukwa ngicabanga sina hulumende nakabuka kuyibuyisa bakabuke kunaloko ukuthi kona lokho madatsi akusherishwa vele umuntu utsebenzisela wakhe.
There you have it. Darts is going to begin its activities this coming Saturday. Stay tuned, because on Monday we'll be having more details pertaining to the sporting code. Now, pool is another sporting code that was given a green light to proceed with its activities. But with that, in fact, something that has happened over the weekend. I mean, it is a bad news, especially for those who love the sport, understanding that they had to proceed with the games. Then within the middle of the game, they had to cancel the games. We get to hear Mr. Muntu Dlamini explaining, but what does that mean for the sport itself? Because then we need clarity on that. But it's bad for the poor players and it's bad for the sport.
For person ngicabanga ukuthi baka pool association banetizathu tabo ukuthi
I will have to catch you. I mean, we have details more with you. He's already online. I'm joined online by Muntu Dlamini, the Eswatini Pool Association. Sikuvusela mlangeni.
Yes, and babukele emakhaya.
Yes, siyaphila kakhulu Nkosi. We just want to get more clarity, Dlamini, on the issue of the activities that took place over the weekend. You had resumed your activities, but for some reasons, you decided you've had to cancel the games. Maybe just to give us clarity, when again, Nkosi?
Asikacancel siyaqhubeka kule weekend siyaki. We had to restart the league. Ngalokuthi nakema lama games sema besisanza kuqala, some teams bekadlale only one game, lamanye maximum bebadlale 3.
And now you have to restart. What are the challenges you foresee that you might face ahead? If maybe, for instance, clubs and the players itself had told themselves the league is still ongoing, now you have to restart. Singakhuluma ukuthi maphi ama challenges nitawudibana nayo?
Kude khona ama challenges. Cishe ba appreciate most teams and players. Ngalokuthi benale layoff for a long time, I think 5 months or so kungadlala. So vele bebadinga lokuthi baqalile phansi.
One would want to say, is it a point of an advantage to say you are restarting, looking at most of Lama players, they were not active for some times. So do you think maybe the season itself might put the sport in a better advantage, where maybe compared to the previous games, since the players were not active?
Yes, vele kubalimete kona lokuhlala but istamile lokuthi banikete enough time ukuthi ba practice, because kusukela asiniketa le green light sports council ukuthi sesinga resume sabaniketa le chance ukuthi banga practice individually kuma game rooms la ngale sawa identify ukuthi khona kulandzela le guidelines as sports council.
Next to me, Dlamini, Guna Linda Dlamini, in-house analyst. He has 1 or 2 questions to ask you.
Nkosi mhlawumbe umbuto nje ungaba lula ukuthi siyathi ukuthi ipool vele kakhulu idlalwa ngetindvuku. Ingabe letindvuku labatawuta nabo labadlali bepool umvutane yakhe yini, noma kukhona iassociation lekulungisile ukuthi utawufika umdlali sanitiziwe afika akhanzele ephinza kushiyele?
Cha siyabonga kuloko futhi as part of lama guidelines. Kokuqala nje na ungena egame room wonke umdlalo utawusanitize. Sikhuthatha ukuthi ngilo mdlali aphathe indvuku yakhe. la kunema cases lapho khona mhlambe for a reason lomnye edinfu vele sikuthatha lokhu before bashintshiselane noma baniketane esandla baniketane ezandleni ibe isanitiziwe but siyakhuthaza vele ukuthi kulo mdlali edenenfuku yakhe even ichoke ngilo yaphathe ichoke yakhe nekuchawulana lezi amagwenda ngaphambilini sivele discourage ukuthi akungabi khona nyalo until further notice.
Nkosi siyathi ukuthi ipool vele idlalwa mhlambe kusetele indzawo mhlambe association lengathi iyayiona for imidlalo yepool. Ingabe ema fixture nibuka ukuthi ayodlala kuphi because siyathi ukuthi indzawo letinenge lapho kutholakala khona lamatafula divaliwe. Ingabe le fixture inkhomba kuphi ni bekuyisa kuphi?
So chothi kwanyalo vele lengalokho indzawo letina leyo tshwala kuvaliwe sinawo ama-game room langala free la alcohol free la neutral kubekisa nje kumanzini full club kamanzini i-free i-neutral venue and then kunaletinye malkens khona kuma-forces ethu e-correctional emaphoyiseni e-reps barracks kumathapha cishe tonke leti ndzawana nasemalkens ikhona le-alcohol free nasebhunya ikhona leti kanjalo tonke leti kanjalo nje itawusebenziseka kulama fixture ethu.
Thank you very much, Dlamini. Maybe just one last question before you leave. Manzini seems to be the hotspot. Now, Kurmange Pool. Now, the other four regions, Dlamini. What is the association doing to ensure we see the way Manzini is very active? Now, Kurmange Pool. Not to say Mbabane Boshisere Nalbo Bonjeni, they are not active, but that's Kurma hotspot in terms of pool. Utsinzenenza or Fananabo Pool Club. They are amongst the best. What are you doing as an association to balance, to ensure that whenever someone wants to talk about pool, it's equal for the four regions?
Yo, chothi nalamanye ama regions nakhona siyalungisa lokuthi babe equally active. For example, njengoba besathi Q Sports Association ufonyishwa kwanyalo, ufonyishwa ngumanzini region, ufonyishwa nangulubombo. Lubombo naye masinyane tabaqala ileague kule weekend lesibuya kiyo nje. Besiyobuka laba establisha khona new pool club kamzilikazi and nasesiteke Cathedral khona laba ilungisela batayivula khona bataqala ileague yabo masinyane. So ikhona le distribution ukuthi national adlale lama game.
I mean, for the interest of time, you said that niyachubeka this coming weekend time and everything. Awusichazele ukuthi niqala ngabani isikhathi everything.
Shortly on Saturdays, onge games ethu aqala nga 2:00 kulama venues labekiwe as they fixed. Bese on Sunday, langala adlala Sunday, adlala aqala nga 1:00 one.
Thank you very much, Muntu Dlamini, the Eswatini Pool Association. One would say, thank you very much for joining us. Dlamini, it's not because maybe there's other reasons why they had to cancel. I think this is done in the interest of the sport, in the interest of the sport itself. There were a lot of challenges. Games after COVID, 5 months, they were not,
Yes, Vaprese, benelithuba ngikhuluma nalomnye pool player emini wathi yena aka understand because already bese baqalile kudlala why cancel ama games lamancane because at least kube bese badlale boma 7-8 games mhlambe bekungaba kahle ukuthi cancel but ngicabanga ukuthi association ibonile ukuthi bekusadlala lamancane noma ngabe singayiqalela phasi kungente kwaba inkinga but nje lokuthi bakhonile lokuthi babuye bakhulume nalama teams babese bavumelana because association bangile association phinze kube nalama teams bavumelene ke nalama teams bayiqalela phasi naku nge weekend babuyela bayodlala.
You have it, and of course, catch up for more details. Of course, come next week, Monday, the 24th of August. The year is 2020. Now, moving forward, we know that Eswatini TV Sports has a dedication to give you all the details pertaining to sporting course. Now, having touched on what was happening to Mbabane Golf course in Mbabane, pertaining to Mantrima, went to Mananga College, went to Ngwenyeni Golf Course as well. Looking at how these golf courses, some of the well-known golf courses in the country are complying in light of the pandemic. However, the team was this weekend at the Royal Swazi Spa Ezulwini. Take a look at this beautiful course, beautiful grounds, and the weather was of course on top of things. Take a look at this.
It's actually pretty good to be back. Golf is a way of life. It's more than just a sport. So yeah, we're loving it back here. Well, like you are saying, everything is a little bit in disarray. But yeah, our administration, professional administration, is working hard on getting us going again. Meanwhile, for me, it's just back to business as usual. Practice, play, practice. My game has matured like fine wine. So I never have concerns with the game. The golf course is in great shape. So yeah, everything is pretty good. And I'm still alive. That's a big plus.
That's Raymond Matos, of course, giving us how excited he is to return on the golf course. Beautiful pictures, of course, by our team, and a return of activities as usual at the golf course at Spa Ezulwini. Now, I'm so much interested in the compliance that I saw from the pictures from the entrance, and you give us the details. But we've talked so much about the sport and how some of the athletes were then not complying. Now the returning of the sport, we're seeing a bit of compliance, and I think in as much as we don't have any official from Sport Council, and then I think I want to applaud you for what you say, and that is honesty. And once honesty is stated, we need to applaud to say whenever we're on the field, we're not seeing them. They say they are there. They say they have a way they do. We're not accusing them to say they're not doing their job. No, we're saying that we are not seeing them, but they say they are there. But now seeing golf over the weekend complying, even though they were in the pictures, we didn't see much of them, but maybe they had someone who was there as on their behalf. They were complying. Either their presence or their absence, they were complying. It doesn't matter. They were just following the rules. Beautiful to watch.
Fabrice, ngicaba ukuthi igolf sike sakhuluma nangayo ukuthi vele cishe bayilandzela yonke lemgomo. I remember first week ye lockdown nina kusanza kubhethuka lo mkhuhlane sahamba saye enkonyeni la sabuka khona sa profile khona nale new golf course lengicaba ukuthi bakwendile konke embabane eTshwane bayakwenda eMananga bayakwenda
Mananga golf course by the
Mananga
North
golf course, yes, yes.
Just for the clarity, yes.
Ngicabanga ukuthi nase khona ezulwini sibonile ukuthi bacishe bayalandela yonke lemgomo uyabhalisa na ufika ubhalise bakucheck i-temperature usanitize and nale temperature babese bakunamathela ukuthi i-temperature yakho ingaka. Ngicabanga ukuthi tonke letinvo leto bayadihlola njengoba ubona nje ukuthi
this is one of our officers, of course.
Thapelo Mabuza, yes. Register igama lakho register ne-temperature yakhe.
And the company of the producer, of course.
Yes. Konke letinvo leto batendile yonke le equipment labayisebenzisako sanitiziwe bendashola ukuthi kuyasanitizwa vele njenga ashilo uhulumende ukuthi akuqhutsheke ukusanitize.
I'm so much interested in what I'm seeing because before our colleague Mr. Pembe just lands on that vehicle is being helped to for the sanitizing of the motorway and everything. But I'm also looking at how the pitch has been kept perfect. And I think some of the issues that were raised about a week or two ago, we talked about how the Mbawane pitch is a bit different. The color of the pitch was not greener as usual. Look at
this is a beautiful ngicabanga ukuthi onke lama golf course la khona la Eswatini, this is the best.
Master, sometimes in sport you need lucky, but comfort also plays a role. I think even though you came in a bad form, but when you play on a course like this, I think it adds the advantage. Look at just from the pictures, and I think pictures don't lie. That's what they say.
Pictures don't lie.
This camera was not the filter was not re-edited. This is just the original picture of and look at the grass. And I think to recommend, and then I think I was looking at internationally your Republic of South Africa. Their courses are also outstanding. But I think this is a way too much.
We remember last week sakhuluma ngegolf course yaseMananga bengasiko kanje Fabrice ivele beyishile inda ngathi iyasha ngalokuthi bekunesithwathwa cishe nalokuthi bekusese winter nasembabane ngiyakhumbula khona ukuthi nakhona sakhuluma ngako. But look at that, Fabrice. Lo green uyawubona ukuthi ngigreen. Ngicabanga ukuthi njengoba sengishilo ukuthi this the best golf course lekhona lengibonile mina lesinayo la kaNgwane, but leyasengonyeni itakabi Fabrice amasay but lena enyalo lokhu kuyi winter ayikashi ngicabanga ukuthi ngiyo lesahamba phambili.
The tricky part about this one is that the most based pro South Africans, when you ask them about a beautiful course in the kingdom of Eswatini, they tell you this is Jamie Pennington, one of our best, and of course he was part of the activity that was taking place over the weekend. Now, having talked about the precautions, having talked about the course, how greener it is, this is the likes of Mandla Dlamini on the course. Let's talk about the day itself. I mean, it was a combination of almost everything. Some of the best that we have produced in the country. When you talk about Jamie Pennington, you talk about the likes of Mandla coming together on a day like that. And I think I like how most of our golfers who are to turn pro, or who have already turned pro, I look at their age. I mean, Jamie's very young. And I think this was his one of his tournament. I think he's supposed to leave this week, if I'm not mistaken. This is Mandla. We talk about his story, about how he had decided to postpone his turning to pro. Of course, Raymond also taking a swing. But it's I'm happy, Master, to say, what are other sporting codes doing to ensure that they start from the grassroots program? They are very young, these guys.
Look, Fabrice, sikhulumile ngaPennington isikhathi lesithe. In fact, I remember adlala Kings Cup a couple of years ago. Aqala ukudlala Kings Cup a couple of years ago. He was a young man, he's still a young man, but losa pro la ku golf. Ngicabanga ukuthi even na lockdown yena weta nendlela lenye yekujima yekutrainer beka inet la tasha khona le Galuva phinze ibuye ingahambi isigaba lesithe. Ngicabanga ukuthi utlungiselele ke Fabrice bekatulungiselela ngeweekend anaye junior utlungiselela ke iSunshine Tour yakhona eNingizimu Afrika. Uhambile ulishile leli wahamba eSouth Africa kulungiselela iSunshine Tour. Siyathi ukuthi iSunshine Tour one of the best tours tournaments la khona eGaluva eSouth Africa. In fact iba khona emaveni lamave laba part of iSunshine Tour. Kenya, Mauritius, Namibia, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Eswatini, South Africa, those countries Sunshine Tour. Ngicabanga ukuthi naye Pennington uyahamba uyomelela le Eswatini. Ngicabanga ukuthi asimelela kahle.
When you talk about Pennington, because we talk about Nobuhle later on, but I'm failing to understand what what type of support are we giving these guys? Because when you talk about Jamie now, it's now that we're just talking it's pro, but then the moment you hear that Jamie is probably ranked probably in the top 100 within the region, or top 50 or top 20, everyone will be like, whoa, I know Jamie. So it then becomes everyone's story. But now it's not everyone's story because he's leaving, or like, he's just in pro. What are we doing to support this athlete, especially in those who are young like Jamie?
I think Fabrice ngeke ngakusho lokhu before ngathi sometimes nathi support ama athletes ethu kangako. In fact le mentality uthina ngabe udlala a sport ukuthi lento yegaluva uyabona kanti sport ngiso lesikhuphula umnotho in sport ngiso lesenta ukuthi bantu ban recognize naku nyalo bayisimele South Africa tabe kunema international golfers leta baqhamuka overseas bathi ukuthi Jamie Pennington from Eswatini. So ngicabanga ukuthi tonke letinto lethu kugcina ukuthi tishintshe nyalo nje ngahambe mhlambe if ema sponsors ngawuhambe ne sponsor uyathi ukuthi lo mvu lo taba marketable South Africa. So ngicabanga ukuthi le mindset ethu kumele ishintshe kuphele ukuthi labantu be golf, labantu be cricket, labantu be bowler. Ngicabanga ukuthi if kungaphela letinvo lethu naku nobuhle sitawukhuluma ngaye naye ngicabanga ukuthi uthole invo lenkulu kakhulu la kithi kangwane akwendeki lokho ukuthi ungakhanza a golfer ak billboard I ambassador something. Ngicabanga ukuthi letinvo lethu kumele it's high time kumele tishintshe.
It's gonna not be well interpreted, but nangabe not in a bad way. I'm not saying siyeke iball, you understand, but nangabe the energy is being put there, the result is taking long. Why don't we give it a try to other sporting codes? Because when you talk about countries like, there are countries who have told themselves we're good in this. You know, they tell you in Kenya the budget of athleticism is bigger than the budget of the national team. So because what would happen, they know athletics, they know what's in Kenya, they are ahead. We talk about country like Egypt. So those are the things. Now, let's take a look at, let's listen to Jamie Pennington, and next to him is Mandla Jr., who is also was part of the event over the weekend. The two had something to say, especially about the weekend activities, and especially for Mandla Jr., why he has postponed his turn to become pro. Take a look at this.
Yeah, it in the beginning it felt strange to be back playing, but it's been really, really nice to come and play, and we're lucky that golf is a game where we can keep apart and keep our space and social distance. So we're very lucky from that standpoint, and we're very lucky to be able to play again. Yeah, it's good. In the beginning, even though I had been doing some practice at home, it wasn't quite the same as being on the golf course. So in the beginning it felt a little bit weird, but slowly but surely it's everything's come back to normal, and my game has got a lot better as well. So I'm looking forward to resuming to competition. The tour starts on Wednesday, and hopefully I'll be able to leave before then to get back in enough time to practice.
It feels good. It feels good to have golf back. Given the current circumstances, it's kind of good, to just get out and about and just clear your head. So I think it's a good thing that we get to play again. Mine, I haven't played in a while. I've been just trying to take a break and focus on other things. Realizing that there's bigger things in life than just being a golfer. So I haven't played much, but it's okay. Mentally, I think I'm in a good place to be playing golf again. So I'm good to go. So sadly, no. A lot of things have changed since January this year. So I am planning on extending my amateur play until probably next year March, and then deciding then what to do. But hopefully, if my game's in the right place, I will turn pro. Definitely, I will do that.
Very much, Lamine. You've got about 7 months or so from now to December. That's 4 months up to March. That's 3 more months. That's 7 months before you make that decision. But my next question to you, Lamine, is to say, I think I also had the same question to our team earlier on in the meeting, to say, is it your own judgment as a golfer to turn pro? Are you the one who decide, I want to become pro? Because that's maybe what's tricky for the viewer. And I think there's a better explanation that you gave me, Master.
Ngicabanga ukuthi ukhulumile uthi useta uthatha utawuma kancane lokuthi athene pro. Lokusho ukuthi utawuma kudlala akhuphule lesiko sakhe, because siyathi ukuthi kugaluva ukuze uthene pro kuthi ngokuthi le performance yakho kube ngiyo le lokhulumako. In fact, Fabrice nangabe ungabuta a netball player ukuthi uyafuna yini kudlala ku national team, ngicabanga ukuthi angathi lo omunye no sengafuna ukudlala national team satake ngime ngidawuthatha i-break ku-netball but nangabe adlala ku-netball league aperforma kahle performance yakhe ikhuluma then utawungena ku-national team nangala ka-golf if utawudlala wena inakhuza sakho ikhuphuke ngicabanga ukuthi ngiyo le letakwenda ukuthi sisale uba i-pro siyakhumbula ukuthi even Jenny Pennington waqala angasi-pro beka amateur golfer wakhuphuka i-performance yakhe emkhuphula wagcina ay-professional.
Now I've got a tricky question, Master, because this is a very, very touching story with our sporting activities. But this is golf. You look at what the guys have done. Your Jamie Pennington, Buhle, and Dlamini, who's also upcoming. In football, we have a situation where there's a specific age. Once you still under that age, you can still play for whichever country you want to play for. Maybe I'll give an example for those who are watching us. They will know Wilfried Zaha, the player who plays for Crystal Palace. For many years, he was playing for England. Later stage, he decided to play for Ivory Coast. There are many players. We know they're in their numbers. You talk about the likes of Iwobi. He played for England for a long time. He played now for Nigeria. Now, in golf, when you look at a player like Jamie, at this point in time, when you talk about the national team, he is in the national team. But do we have a situation where Jamie can say, you know what, I don't get that recognition that I'm supposed to be gaining. South Africa want to give me recognition. Lesotho wants to give me recognition. Does he have the right to change?
Ngicabanga Fabrice at the moment uyasho ukuthi uyadlala ku-national team yala Eswatini. Info lengamane ukuthi yenteke Fabrice angamana athole i-citizenship yase South Africa nangabe sohleli isikhathi lesithe eNingizimu Africa but he cannot represent South Africa. Kungenteka kanjalo nobuhle ngicabanga ukuthi i-citizenship sangayithola because sohleli isikhathi lesithe South Africa.
But she has that love for the country.
Yes, now kahle uyohlala representa iEswatini.
Ungamblame indlela mina angashintsha.
Ngicabanga ukuthi njengoba ngishilo earlier on Fabrice emathuba maningi kakhulu le avele ngala kubomakhelwane uyakhumbula the first black man kuncanca iMount Everest liswati but in fact nakanqenqe leyo nakhuza leyo waniketwa iflag yase South Africa is South African wathola buve wase South Africa but yena liswati ngicabanga ukuthi thine lakithi ngilendolo ngushilo ukuthi until sithathe ema sports serious vele lama athletes ethu la good kakhulu atosibalekela incumbi Fabrice bani laba se South Africa Bongani Khumalo umdlali lo represent South Africa national team bafana walakithi ngicabanga ukuthi until sithathe vele serious ema sports but asibalekela athletes ethu.
Talking about this sensitive topic, of course, how we need to give recognition to athletes. Now, the golf industry has given us a lead to show us that these athletes have everything to do to represent as well. Now, in our international sports news, we're now touching on Nobuhle Dlamini, still under the golf industry. Dlamini, to start off things, we congratulate her for what she's done, and I think now it's a big move, being the ambassador of Let's Play. I think for many, they have seen the Let's Play advert and the Let's Play log. Maybe Let's Play and her being the ambassador, and how big this is.
Fabrice siyathi kusi i-multi choice inetinhlelo letiningi kakhulu even na multi choice Eswatini ukhona lengicabanga ukuthi in the near future tinvo tawuhambe change ema-athletes ethu nakhona khona labatawo banika kona babe ma-ambassador Nobuhle Dlamini ke igolfer yethu yala Eswatini solo sikhuluma ngama-golfers ngicabanga ukuthi it's been South Africa for isikhathi lesithe and i-performance yakhe iyatikhulumela bese decide ke multi choice South Africa ukuthi akamthathe abe ambassador Let's Play siyadlala le program leyo lengicabanga ukuthi itawuhamba ifundisa abantwana about ema sports more especially yena she's a female utawufundisa kakhulu bamvombatana ukuthi na uthatha serious ema sports yini lo ngakuzuza yini lo ngakugaina ngicabanga ukuthi le program le batawuhamba Let's Play siyadlala bahamba nasetikolweni bahamba nasemangweni lengicabanga ukuthi naye utakwenda kanjalo utawuhamba etikolweni nafundisa nasemangweni.
She's big now and I think once you're an ambassador, let's not talk about the money because it's her money because she worked for it. Let's not talk about the money. Let's talk about the role and what she's achieved. She's an ambassador. She's the 5th on the ranking on Sunshine Tour in the women category. That's big.
Fabrice,
this is a brand. This is a brand on its own. They could have taken anyone else.
Yeah.
They could have taken Caster ukhona. They could have taken anyone. Why Nobuhle?
Fabrice ngicabanga
Caster Semenya ukhona. There's a lot of female who could have, but Nobuhle is the representative.
ukhuluma ngabo Caster Semenya, ukhuluma ngabo Amanda Dlamini, ukhuluma inkumbi Fabrice laba ngabe babathatha but kuthathwe Nobuhle because bayibona le cream.
Eswatini siyakuva yini ukuthi kukhulu kanganani lo?
Asikuva Fabrice ngicabanga ukuthi lo msindvo in fact sometimes nathi as media it's in the Eswatini TV ngicabanga ukuthi siyapromote kakhulu golf. We've been covering golf even bonobuhle sikhulumile ngabo but ngicabanga ukuthi imedia ayendi enough kupromote ema athletes ethu ukhuluma nje ukuthi Nobuhle eSouth Africa urenkwa high kanganani thina lakithi sithatha nje ezinobuhle golf maybe
that's how in the pictures.
Yes, that's Nobuhle maybe lokwendeka Fabrice ukuthi na ucele umncane babe basolo abantu bacabanga ukuthi umncane ngiyakhumbula mina Nobuhle nakasaqala kuba igolf 13-year-old Nobuhle aqala kudlala igaluva ngicabanga ukuthi eMaswatini solo kunaleyo ngcomvo leyo cause vele so sesithe lesikhathi ahamba.
Like I said, I mean this is a very touching topic because angisatsanze ukuthi sikhulume ukuthi wakhamalini how much she makes because I think we like mentioning now she's netted 150 as that's her money. Yeah. She's worked for it. Let's talk about her achievement, how she's taking, because now when you talk about someone ranking 5th, Busasha Nto, because then worldwide somewhere she's ranked somewhere. You know, we talk about your best cause in UK, your best cause in Australia. She's been in such tournaments. She's represented as there professionally. So because when you talk about actually athletes or golfers like Nobuhle, they are specific upcoming amateurs golfers in other country who look at her and say, wow. And then I think somehow someone knows the sport and the country that the sport is growing because of Nobuhle. So, she's from Eswatini. That is huge. She's 5th and she needs more recognition. Now, Eswatini TV could not get a hold of her today, but we can do, and we will promise you that next week, Monday, we'll have a discussion with her through social media where we just get a full detail on how she's preparing for different formation. I think, look at when you talk about tournaments like Ladies Open in Joburg, Sunshine, she's been everything, man. I mean.
ngicabanga seyikhumbula le tournament le lapho khona ayiwina khona. In fact the previous week before the tournament leyo bekacitha number 2 wase the following week nakuchubeka le tournament waba number 1 wayiwina. Ngicabanga senakhona lapho wawakha lo msindvo in South Africa. It's been good. Namuhla ngabe sinaye lahlelweni sikhuluma naye but unfortunately ngalo sithi invoti busy vele after le big deal mane ngakhulu lama interviews. So ngicabanga ukuthi next week
Now, as we just promised you, next week we'll get a full detailed information with her and talk about not only about the ambassadorship deal, but the sport itself and what maybe she's willing. Maybe she's even willing to have a sort of, should I say, sort of academy. I'm not saying she said so, but maybe she's willing to see other golfers coming into the level where she's been to. Look at people like Jamie Pennington. Who knows how far he's going? Maybe it's in the same footstep as Nobuhle Dlamini. Now, moving on internationally, Spanish Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton once again making headline. I mean, I think there's a sport where you can dominate and you can dominate, but this guy, he's something else. He reminds me of a club called Juventus in Italy and Bayern in Germany. I think they're winning their league titles for the eighth times in a row. So you dominate that much. It means each year in and out, each tournament, you're consistent. This is Lewis for you.
Now ukhuluma ngeFormula 1 Fabrice kule period lena ngicabanga for the past 6 years ukhuluma ngaLewis Hamilton so we dominate kakhulu beku Spanish Grand nakuza ke Fabrice i tournament lebe ikhona lapho eSpain yena Lewis Hamilton uyiwinile ke lo abeka winner I competition yakhe i competition yakhe 88 ngicabanga ukuthi leyo so shodelwe nje nge3 ukuthi akhanze yena the great Schumacher yes Michael Schumacher lengicabanga ukuthi sekusele kancane Fabrice utal breaker lelo record lelo la Michael Schumacher and if ungacoshana ufana nemuvu lo legend kule sport lesi lo Michael Schumacher ungiyena Lewis Hamilton ngicabanga ukuthi naye lapho uya deserve actually
uyazama man Sebastian Vettel sometimes coming closer. But I think maybe would one want to say, Master, is because of the brand that you play, the club, the brand of the club you race for. He's a Mercedes person. Others are coming from other Red Bull or what. But is it because of the brand maybe he's racing for that has made him that big?
Asathi ukuthi ka Mercedes yini lengaka laba bathembisa yona yini lengaka laba banika yona baba motivate ngayo because utamkhumbula naye Michael Schumacher ukuthi beka ka Mercedes nangu Lewis Hamilton naye uka Mercedes lengicaba ukuthi le brand bayithethe vele bayibeka lapha etulu kakhulu ngicabanga nje ukuthi sesithi lesikhathi njengoba ngishilo before a dominator so 3 away from equaling Michael Schumacher's record.
And of course, that is another sporting one would say it needs to improve a lot on the continent of Africa at all, and looking at how other international countries in Europe are doing now. Moving on, it is the UEFA Champions League and the Europa League that is happening in a strategic way. It's one way out. There is no away and home game return as usual due to the COVID-19. Now they have taken a specific venue. The Europa Leagues are being played in Germany, while the Champions League are of course taking place in Portugal. Now one thing is sure is that for the very first time in over 6 to 8 years, you've got a semi-finals of Europa League and semi-finals of Champions League without any English team. That is very disappointing looking at the results. I mean, overall, we touch on each competition, but how far? What have you seen? We like talking about the influence of the English Premiership, but when they come to such tournament, they are undermined. I think for me, from what I've seen, Liverpool is the club so far that can maintain their club competition at home and level of play and go international and play the same level, because I mean I'm looking at the clubs like Manchester City, Manchester United playing in those competition. The standard was very low.
Fabrice uteka yona na uthi for a very long time ngicaba uthi for over 15 years singayiboni English team kuma semi-finals both tournaments i-Champions League ne-Europa iphumile Manchester City shaya ngeyoqembu le-Lyon. Pep Guardiola lengicabanga ukuthi vele inhlanhla ngakuye ayikho neze nani kahle ngala ku Manchester City.
Champions League was last in 2011. 9 years without Champions League.
9 years without the Champions League yet is to solo urated as the best coach. Lengicabanga ukuthi Fabrice i-Champions League nangibuka mina ungathi kahle lokudlalwa one game kungabe ne first leg ne second leg because yonke i-team iphuma all out. Sibonile i-Lyon ngendlela lidlale ngayo against yona i-Manchester City nangale i-Barcelona versus Bayern Munich. Remember last Monday nasikhuluma nawe ekseni lana ngikhuluma ukuthi uyamkhumbula lo 7-0 ngathi ngabona ngathi batawushaya emagoli lang 4 noma lang 5 bamshayile ke 8 be-Bayern Munich. Lengicabanga ukuthi for the first time in history i-Barcelona ku Champions League iluze ngemagoli langaka
since 1945 the last time they were heated 8
bakushaya emagoli 8 against bona. Lengicabanga ukuthi vele kube humiliation khona kwecenjini layo iBarcelona, but batawubuya ke Fabrice batawuzama ku regrouper. Lengicabanga ukuthi iBayern Munich at the moment vele bayidominate iEurope. Nawukhumbula kahle nje ukuthi striker sabo Robert Lewandowski sona 12 goals. Coutinho ke lo loan from Barcelona ungenile kwakora against yona iBarcelona. Lengicabanga 2 goals.
His employee
la hola khona ushaye 2 goals against bona. Ngicabanga nje ukuthi and nawubuka ukuthi iBayern Munich bamsayinile Leroy Sané from Manchester City. Look short next season.
Yes. There's a tricky study because sorry to cut you. There's a tricky study because I want you to take me through to say there's a belief that whenever Bayern Munich is actually at its peak, then there is a huge influence that coming for the German machine. That is the national team. And I think if you look at the 2014 World Cup, so we also what they did to Argentina. I think Messi has something against Bafana Nabo Mula. That was 7-1. This is 8-2. And that day, Mula scored. This day scored. So what are we saying about this German team? Because when you look at players like Kimmich, very young, you look at Serge Gnabry, very young, Sané, like you said, is upcoming. What are we saying? Boateng is still up and running. This is the German machine on the rise.
Ngicabanga Fabrice le ndlela le Bayern Munich yakhiwe ngayo na ubuka ukuthi nuwa epaleni solusekhona defense ina Boateng experience then alaba lacele nabo Kimmich then ubuka le midfield bese soya le kuma strikers ngicabanga ukuthi lona experience kakhulu khona Thomas Müller yamkhumbula ku 2010 World Cup nakashaya 5 amagoli even 2014 washaya 5 amagoli ngicabanga ukuthi le experience la kanayo Thomas Müller against Barcelona umkorile 2 goals angeke uze umkhohle labanenge bese bamwrite off but yena uyaqhubeka nekukhombisa ukuthi is that emaJalimane ke Fabrice siyawathi ukuthi ayafighter bona bo Thomas Müller sibabonile nabo closer before ngicabanga le Bayern Munich lena nje vele at the moment it's to dominate.
Now there you have it. Another study that is being conducted is that when you look at back since the early 80s when the Bayern giants that has always been there, you talk about some of the best players that have played for the club. Whenever these two teams meet, you talk about Bayern and Barcelona, whoever wins the semifinals or whatever quarterfinals ends up winning the tournament. How true is it? We'll see that into the finals.
In fact lo nangikhumbula kahle history Champions League for the past 13 years you beat Barcelona ubama champions. Liverpool last season bakwentile lokho bayiwina Champions League basinyalo kusele 4 ama teams 2 eGermany 2 eFrance labanenge ke bakubita ukuthi iFarmers League but na iFarmers League ima semifinals eChampions League yona eBayern.
I mean another thing maybe just to touch on because I think Manchester United fans will remember when they bought Evra from Monaco is to say whenever you have two clubs from France into the semi-finals, one should reach the finals. And unfortunately, it doesn't normally work for them because I think Monaco played that final and then big players came out, your Evra that time, Eric Abidal and everyone. So now we're talking about Paris Saint-Germain. It's another club I wanted us to touch on. Neymar looked so happy with that victory against Atlanta. Does he feel that final coming close? Does he feel maybe that they can go through against Leipzig?
Remember ukuthi yena Neymar wasuka khona ku Barcelona in the final yakhe Champions League egcina be 2015 nabashaya iJuventus so nyalo kunabo Mbappe kuba nabo Di Maria kunabo Draxler ngicabanga ukuthi le crop ama players leyo kudzinga ukuthi vele basale bayiwina iChampions League bayiwinile iLeague emahlandla kulandzelana Thiago Silva udlala isizini yakhe egcina ngicabanga sinayo utawufuna kuyiqetsa ku career yakhe PSG on a high ngicabanga nje ukuthi Keylor Navas wayiwina iChampions League Real Madrid 3 times in a row so ngicabanga ukuthi le experience la iletha kule team ye PSG lena inkulu kakhulu badlala ke kusasa ngicabanga ukuthi vele le final
I want the final. Who goes to the final? 2 teams in the final.
Fabrice since iqalile Champions League lena ngiyasho ukuthi Bayern Munich iya ku final ngiyibona iya ne PSG iya ne PSG ku final then Bayern iwina ifinal ye Champions League.
Europa League, who goes into the final and who wins it?
Europa League namuhla iyadlala iInter Milan idlala neShakhtar lengicaba ukuthi iInter Milan itayiwina le game Lukaku ngimbona afika kuma finals eChampions League eEuropa League eEuropa League siyibonile neSevilla itolo ishaya eManchester United lengicaba ukuthi Sevilla ngeke irecord yayo ku Europa angeke uze uyingabathe siyakhumbula nabo ukuthi bake bayiwina iEuropa emahlandla lamathathu kulandzelana so ngicaba ukuthi ngeke uze uyikhohle vele iSevilla ku final ngicabanga ngicabanga ukuthi abedlala neInter Milan but Inter Milan itayiwina le Europe.
There have you go. That is Mandla. I nearly said that is Mandla Lamine. That is Linda David, of course, giving you a new name in the studio. Beautiful information, beautiful details, of course. Thank you very much for joining us, Lamine. And I think your information is highly appreciated for the viewer and always appreciating to get research and tell us what's happening local and internationally.
Kubonga mina Fabrice ngibonga kakhulu loyal viewers lahlale ngihlale ngisho ke Fabrice ukuthi ema message noma email yayo leqhamuka ku loyal viewers ayasikhuthata noma ngabe lo munye angawabona ukuthi i-criticism but mina ngithatha as a constructive criticism iyangikhulisa iyangakha and in fact vele nangabe iqhamuka criticism ngithanda yona because ngilungisa letinvo lengicabanga ukuthi ma negatives lakini.
There you have it. That is Nizata Amin, of course, in the studio. I was in the company of him. We touched on everything local and international. And of course, for those who you joined us on different platforms, it was live on Eswatini TV. You did join us, of course, on YouTube channel. And of course, before you leave, do not forget to hit the subscribe button to make sure that also you ring the bell and get any notification. Otherwise, for those who want to get a repeat, there is always the next day from 8 in the morning up to 9 in the morning. For the entire crew, your host Fabrice Umsodera, Linda Dlamini, and everyone, the station at large. Besidlala kamnanzi.